Jimmy Smith here with my post-fight breakdown, Maia versus Askren. What did I get right and what did I get wrong? I thought I did well right up until the main event, and some very interesting things happened in that fight. Can't wait to get to it. First off, let's start at the bottom of the card. Muslim Salikhov versus Liriano Staropoli went exactly the way I thought it would. Stand-up kickboxing battle, and Salikhov was the better kickboxer. I really like the way this guy uses his feet. Not just in terms of angles and controlling range, but spinning kicks, very, very fast, accurate with the hands, great combinations. Staropoli stayed in it, did everything he could, basically walked forward and tried to make it more of a punching battle, but Salikhov just too good with the hands. I was really too good with the feet. Really impressed with everything he did. Great from range, great from close in, landed some power stuff. Pretty much threw the kitchen sink at him. Staropoli made it close at times, but I thought Salikhov controlled pretty much the entire fight. Two judges saw it 30-26. One saw it 29-28, but unanimous decision. He really deserves it. He moves forward in a big way, in my opinion, but great job by Salikhov. So I picked Salikhov to win. He ends up winning. Was the better kickboxer. Cyril Gane versus Dontel Mays. Mays looked better than I thought he would, actually. I picked Cyril Gane to win. But Dontel Mays was slimmer than we've seen him in previous fights. He was pretty sharp. He was pretty accurate. Tried that spinning back fist a few too many times. Moved well, but Gane was just better. Gane looked like the more complete heavyweight. Switched stances a lot, moving around a lot. This guy, if you saw my pre-fight breakdown, I think he's a phenomenal athlete. I like the way he moves. I like his speed. He really doesn't move like a heavyweight at all. He does take some defensive risks when he's moving forward. He likes to float his hands really, really low. That might catch him just in a division where everybody hits hard. You don't want to have defensive lapses like that. But I thought he was all over Mays. 10, 15 seconds more in the first round, he would have finished him. Knocked him down, had to work on the ground and pound, and ran out of time. I think 15 seconds more, he probably finishes him. What was interesting about this is he gets a heel hook late in the third round, 15 seconds left. He's on top. He's got it in the bag, and he sits back for a heel hook. I don't know whether to be happy or sad about that if I'm his coach, simply because, yeah, he went for it, 15 seconds left, going for the finish, which is always a good thing, but you're on top. You could literally pull a big heavyweight on top of you, and it only takes a couple punches at that weight class to finish somebody. So a serious tactical risk that he didn't need to take in a fight he's winning in the heavyweight division. So I'm kind of torn about it. It's something like the first heavyweight to win in the UFC by heel hook in 10 years. But it's also those things. Neil Grove got caught in one. That was it. I don't remember who did to him. But it was one of those things where judgment-wise, man, you're on top, you're winning, it's done, it's in the bag, 15 seconds. Yeah, I like that effort at the finish, but a guy kicks out of a heel hook and just blasts you a few times. Could completely change the fight. So I like his aggression. I like that it might be the latest submission in heavyweight UFC history, and that'd be interesting. But anyway, I like Gane to really do well. He's like a more polished Greg Hardy, essentially, in terms of big, athletic, quick. But I think he's an even better MMA athlete right now. He just looks phenomenal. So I think he has a pretty high ceiling, especially in the heavyweight division of the UFC right now, where a lot of guys are getting old. Great fighters in there, but we're talking about the same fighters, Dos Santos, Overeem, that have been around forever. That top 10 has a lot of room for new talent. Beneil Daryush, Frank Camacho, once again, I thought Beneil Daryush would win. I thought it would be by submission. I thought it would be because of his ground game, and that's what happened. Frank Camacho moving forward, but Beneil Daryush, actually the better striker for as long as this fight lasted, and then as soon as you got him on the ground, it was over. Great transition to the back, got a rear naked choke, 2 minutes left, 2 minutes into the first round. Beautiful stuff. I mean, Beneil Daryush does have a great ground game, and if he gets solid position on you, he's going to finish you. I've been an admirer of his jiu-jitsu game for a long time. Frank Camacho, a good fighter, but if you saw my pre-fight breakdown, he generally wears guys down. That's tough when you're taking on a superior grappler, because they'll walk through a few of those shots to take you down and finish you. If you don't have that one-shot power to keep them away, it's tough to do. That's what Chuck Liddell was so great at. not only was Chuck Liddell an excellent wrestler in his own right, but he had the power to keep grapplers at bay. Kevin Randleman, Tito Ortiz, Randy Couture, they didn't want to go in there and eat that big shot and it's lights out. Someone who's a pitter-pat puncher or someone who wears you down or uses speed more than power, a lot of times you can just put your head down and get through it. And you can't do that if you're Frank Camacho. You have to turn over a shot hard to keep Beneil Daryush off you, and you couldn't do that. Stevie Ray versus Michael Johnson. The first one I got wrong, but what I said in the pre-fight was it's a coin flip fight. It'll be pretty much a boxing match, and one little thing will separate the winner from the loser. What it was, Michael Johnson took the second round, was tagging him up, and was starting to tag him up in the third round. But then Stevie Ray got a takedown, boom, 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 good ground and pound, took his back, remained there for the majority of the round. So it was the takedown that was the difference maker. I thought Michael Johnson was doing better second round on the feet. He was just the better boxer from the second round, but Stevie Ray got that takedown and was able to swing the fight back in his direction, and he had already won the first round. So he takes rounds 1 and 3, gets a majority decision, hard-fought fight. But once again, close fight that I expected. Now, the main event, the one that kind of took me by surprise for a lot of reasons. I'm glad it was more exciting than I thought it would be. I really thought it would be a snoozer, but a few things surprised me, and most of it is the approach of Ben Askren. I'm going to start with a couple things. He went almost exclusively Greco with his takedown style. Weird. That's not his strong suit. If you've followed Ben Askren's wrestling career back in college and internationally, he's not an upper body guy. He's not a great thrower. He's low single leg, high crotch, reach for a leg, and then get into these funk positions. But he kept clinching with Damian Maia and kind of going for these trips and stuff. And Damian Maia has good judo. It's hard to throw that guy. And he kept kind of shrugging off these clinch attempts. The counterpoint would be, well, he may have been trying not to shoot because he didn't want to get caught in a guillotine. That's nice. I mean, I understand that logic, and that you don't want to bury your head and all these things and get caught in a front choke guillotine kind of thing. But the difficulty that I can't see is that I see is in his entire UFC career, Damian Maia has never won by guillotine. Rear naked choke, that's his specialty. He's almost exclusively positional. He's just not the kind of guy to catch you in something funky while you're rolling around, trying to get a takedown. He doesn't really. He isn't like that. Ryan Hall, for example, will let you get in on a leg and roll for something funky, a heel hook, guillotine, snatch the front, snatch your neck. Kron has a great guillotine. Damian Maia's never been that guy. He pretty much fights the takedown. And if you take him down, he works from the guard. He works from whatever position he's in rather than catch you in between positions. He's not a funky, over-the-top kind of guy. Not that he doesn't have a great guillotine. I'm sure he does. But that isn't his bread and butter. I didn't think. And also the way Ben Askren tends to grapple, he tends to bury his head inside single legs and high crotches. So he's a hard guy to guillotine. I thought he'd go for more leg attacks in terms of takedowns, not leg submissions, but single leg, high crotch takedowns. That's what he's great at. He's really not a great thrower, and yet he kept clinching Damian Maia and going for these throws, and Damian Maia was able to avoid those. In the first round, I thought Damian Maia, who's not a great boxer, was outboxing Ben Askren cleanly. I mean, easily. So it was surprising that Ben kept going for these reaching takedowns, and his striking, Ben Askren, the first round looked, I want to say amateurish, but I know amateur boxers that have way better hands. He kept hitting him and leaving his arms out and kind of doing this and leaving himself so vulnerable to counter punches. I was like, it was crazy to watch at the level at which he's competing. That first round, his striking. So round number 2, he started landing better strikes. And then another thing that perplexed me. Well, I'll get into that later. So second round, he starts actually landing his own strikes. Damian Maia starts wearing down, it seemed a little bit, or needed his second win, and Ben Askren starts doing all of the strikes. When Ben would get a takedown, so first off, he starts off with this more Greco style, and then he committed to a double leg, got him down. His hips would be way up in the air, and I couldn't believe what he was doing. He's trying to pass Damian Maia's guard. You're not going to pass Damian Maia's guard, and that's going to open up a lot of opportunities for Damian Maia. So that triangle omoplata sweep combo that he caught Ben with, that was as a result of Ben trying to pass to his left side. He was pushing down on the knee, trying to pass that side. Well, that left the right side exposed, stepped over, got the triangle, and then to the omoplata to the sweep. If you don't try to pass, that can't happen. Meaning, you want to commit to the takedown against a guy like Damian Maia, and once you're on top, just solid hips, squash his ass. I had Jake Shields on SiriusXM with me for Brawls Deep last week for the Luke Thomas show, and he was right. I thought Ben Askren, when it came to the takedown, would do a more basic takedown than he usually does. Because he does have to worry about the front chokes and sweeps and stuff. And then once he was on top, be really stable. Now, that's not usually Ben's style. He's funky. He always wants to move around and create scrambles and opportunities. You don't want to scramble with Damian Maia. I thought he won it. And he did. And it didn't work out for him at all. And so that choice of, I'm going to go top heavy with the takedowns, and then once we're on the ground, I'm going to try to pass and do all the funk. I was like, once you're on top, just stabilize. Heavy hips and control it. Make it boring. That's the only way to beat Damian Maia. One of the reasons I thought this would be a snoozer is that's the only way to beat Damian Maia at 170 pounds is kind of keep it boring and not give up anything and wear him down a bit. And Ben didn't do that. He got into these scramble positions and his hips really, really high, and it was easy for Maia to elevate him and sweep him, went for the leg lock, and then got on top of him. Easy transitions to mount. And once he had his back, man, it's over. You're just not going to get Damian Maia off your back. So that's what I found kind of perplexing, was that choice of, I'm going to be conservative with the takedown, but funky on the ground. I thought he'd be funky with the takedown and conservative on the ground. Like he might use those reaching single legs and high crotches he normally uses to get the takedown because that's what he's good at. And then once he was on the ground, just try to be a wet blanket on Damian Maia. Try not to do anything. I know that might be counterintuitive, but if you've done jiu-jitsu, if you're with somebody superior who's a lot better than you, stalling is much easier than trying to pass somebody's guard. And the more you try to do, the more opportunities you give them. And so, if it's kind of like riding a bull. It's not easy, but the less you try to do, if you try to start moving around the bull, as soon as they buck, you're gone. I really thought Ben would play a more conservative game on the ground, but no, it was hips really high, trying to pass and do all this stuff, and that played right into Damian Maia's game. And as soon as Damian Maia gets superior position on you, God, you're screwed. And we saw that again with Ben Askren. So, rear naked choke, excellent performance by Damian Maia. The thing for me that is hard to decide going forward is where both guys go. Ben Askren has been very honest about, we'll wait and see. This might be it. Who knows? I didn't see a fighter in this last fight in Ben Askren who can compete with the elite in the UFC. I just didn't see that guy. Yes, he was conservative with the takedown because he knew what he was facing. So I think that may have thrown his whole game off because then it made it more of a striking contest. That's really not his thing. Once he got on the ground, his normal funk approach led him to, complete destruction. So it was a guy that maybe wasn't playing the game that suited him the best. But if you look at the top at 170, man, it's crowded with great wrestlers. He lost to Jorge Masvidal and Damian Maia. Neither one of those guys is a great wrestler. And they still beat him. I thought it would take a Division I guy, or, in the case of Kamaru Usman, a solid Division II guy, to beat Ben Askren. And he hasn't even run into one of those guys yet. And he's 0-2 in his last two fights. So, Damian Maia, love the guy. I think he's amazing. Obviously, I have a jiu-jitsu shirt on. Is not at the top of his game right now. It's just, he's getting on in years. His losses have been to the best. But he had to get past Damian Maia, I think, to show that he could be a legitimate threat at 170 pounds in the UFC. And he didn't do that. In fact, he got finished. He got outboxed. So it's difficult to find a path forward. Someone can always fight and win if they're given the right opponents. But if you want to move up, which most people do, I don't see a lot of opportunity for that. Maybe he can beat a few guys, but he's going to eventually run into those D1 guys who can stop his takedown and make him box, and I saw atrocious boxing. especially when you think of what it would be like with him to stand with Tyron Woodley or Kamaru Usman or either of those guys. Now, I know Tyron Woodley's his boy, and they won't fight, but as a measuring stick, Tyron Woodley knocks his ass out in that fight. Colby Covington, even a volume guy, I think, beats the crap out of him pretty well. Kamaru Usman, any of those guys, I think, tag him up pretty easily. So that was a problem. Isn't just that loss, but what I saw was a guy that right now, man, I don't see him moving up into that, beating one of those top 5 guys. If he wants to continue, what's the goal? What's the end game? That's the issue. If you want to move up, that's going to be hard to do. Can you win again if the UFC matches you up the right way? Yes. Are they particularly motivated to match you up the right way with the things you said and the war with Dana White? Probably not. There's probably a little bit of dancing on your grave going on right now at UFC headquarters. So we'll see how it goes. For Damian Maia, it's Damian Maia. He gets good position, he'll kill you. He called out Diego Sanchez. I think he destroys Diego Sanchez. Not that I am anti-Diego Sanchez. I've always liked him, but Damian Maia's ground game is it's too much for most fighters who aren't D1 caliber who can stop it. And so if you're not one of those guys, it's tough. He gets on top of you, you're in trouble. So I think Damian Maia is going to Damian Maia. And one thing about his style is he can do it pretty old. Yeah, I think he's past his physical prime, but his style is he can do that till he's freaking 60. So, yeah, I still think there's some good, entertaining fights. He's got an ethnic niche. So, always in Brazil, if there's a card, man, he'll always put asses in seats and get that crowd behind him and that kind of thing. So, as long as he stays away from the other Division I wrestlers, and he's fought most of them already. He's already fought Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington, and Tyron Woodley. I think those are the guys that beat him, but, he's already fought them. So, great win for him. We'll see what happens moving forward. Like I said, the picks, I thought, I did well right until the main event. The main event it was one of those I'm glad I was wrong, and it's a much more exciting fight than I expected. And to see Damian Maia get the win, that was cool. I really like Damian Maia's style, always have. And I'm glad he finally got over that hump of a standout, probably the most standout, Division I wrestler. He beat him. That had always been his kryptonite at 170. Other than John Fitch, he'd had trouble with all those guys. He finally got over that, and it was good to see. Anyway, comment if you like, and it's always an honor that you guys listen to what I have to say. Later.